My number five is what if the 49ers draft Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson in the 2017 NFL draft? So to color this, this kind of ties into our number four about beating the Ravens and the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game, because they choose to basically move on from Colin Kaepernick after a poor season where he was dealing with injury, and they go into the 2017 season with Brian Hoyer as their starting quarterback and end up choosing Stanford defensive tackle Solomon Thomas. And the funny thing is they draft him and they choose to play him out of position. So great job, 49ers. But they have had a great track record of drafting defensive linemen. So it's, you can't win them all. You get DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa. And then, the ugly duckling, so to speak, is Solomon Thomas, who's having a bit of a resurgence with the Raiders. But to go back to the question, the skipping on Patrick Mahomes, sure, I get it. A lot of teams had him as a late first rounder, early second round. He's a Texas Tech quarterback. We all know that they just put up bonkers numbers because of that system. And he was kind of an enigma, right? So credit Kansas City and Andy Reid for identifying his skills and giving him time to develop and turning him into, perhaps the best quarterback in the NFL right now. But passing on Deshaun Watson is really the inexcusable part. Off-field issues that have come to light aside, he is, I think unquestionably a top 5 NFL quarterback, when active. He was coming off a season, where he combined for or accounted for 5,000 yards, 50 total touchdowns, and turned Clemson from kind of an also ran into a perennial contender for the college football championship. So I think the saving grace here is at least they didn't draft Mitchell Trubisky, which would have been an even bigger disaster. But the what if scenario is, what if they, instead of overthinking it and drafting a defensive lineman and going the veteran quarterback route, what if they drafted Deshaun Watson with that third or fourth overall pick?
Oh, they would have been amazing, right? They again, galaxy brain. I think this current regime has done a poor job in the early rounds of drafting players. They scare the Bears into that. Oh, we might take Mitch. You should take our pick because we might take Mitch. And they go, no, we want Mitch. And they end up wasting the opportunity by drafting Solomon Thomas, not using him right because he had one good bowl game at Stanford. And then they drafted Reuben Foster, who had off the field concerns, and then burned them anyway by continuing to have off the field concerns. So they took a gamble on a great player who just was too not fit to play professional football because of his off field concerns. So huge miss. They've done well in middle rounds, but this was bad. This was really bad.
Yeah, and the irony is, if you look at the type of quarterback that Trey Lance is, or the type of quarterback that they hope he will become, and that's Deshaun Watson, right? They've both got good size. I think Trey Lance is a little bit bigger, but they're both, big, strong athletes. They've got big arms. They're accurate. But the difference is, Trey Lance played at North Dakota State in the FCS, and Deshaun Watson played at the highest level of college football and won. I don't believe that wins are a quarterback stat, but that has to count for something. And it's remarkable. Obviously they weren't the only team that passed on him. Deshaun Watson ended up going 12th overall. There's some notable misses ahead of him, and a lot of teams that I'm sure are kicking themselves. Obviously they're kicking themselves or missing out on Mahomes, but at least they can justify that we didn't know what this guy was, but we knew what Deshaun Watson was. It was a no-brainer type pick. And even Cleveland, they got a great player in Myles Garrett, who's the face of the franchise. But, if we do a redraft, which we will at some point, there's a very good case for Deshaun Watson, of course, with the huge caveat of his off-field, alleged, indiscretions. as the number one pick in this draft. So yeah, that, it wasn't that long ago where we get the 10, 20 year, multiverse where he's the face of the 49ers for, a decade plus, but it is a very good thing to think about, or a very, big thing to think about in the last 5 years of the NFL history.
Yep, I agree completely. I think that he beat the Bill Belichick of college football. That's what it took to beat Saban. That was an incredible run he went on to beat Saban. So yeah, it sounds really stupid, right? When you spell it out, he beat Saban. What do you mean you passed on him and you needed a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, he went toe to toe and lost. He beat Alabama, the freight train that is the current state of Alabama. And yeah, it's just all these teams just overthought it. And it's not like he was too small. It's not like he was, didn't have the resume or went to a small school. It probably maybe brings up the larger conversation about the way Black quarterbacks are evaluated. You would hope that that's not as big of a conversation as it is now, given who the best quarterbacks in the NFL are at this point. But, unconscious or implicit bias is still a thing.